Making your way in the world today takes everything you've got. Taking a break from all your worries sure would help a lot. Wouldn't you like to get away? Sometimes you wanna go where everybody knows your name, and they're always glad you came. You wanna go where people know the people are all the same. You wanna go where everybody knows your name.
We are the ones who don't know what we're fighting for. Give us a gun and send us all off to war. We are the ones who grow up in violent homes. We are the ones who don't know what's right or wrong. I know. We are the ones who were born into war. We are the ones who just don't give a fuck no more. No more. We are the ones who don't know why we're losing score. Give them a badge so they can send us to the morgue. Yeah, we are the ones who are scared to walk out the door. We are the ones who don't know what we're dying for. I know. We are the ones who are born into war. We are the ones who just don't give a fuck now. We are the ones who are born into war. We are the ones who just don't give a fuck no more. No. Get off his fucking neck. That makes you know. He can't fucking breathe. That makes you know. We are the ones who are born into war. We are the ones who just don't give a fuck now. We are the ones who are born into war. We are the ones who just don't give a fuck no more. No.
Warning: this podcast features adult subject matter, adult language, and things not meant for children to hear. Viewer discretion is advised. You've been warned. If it's Thursday, you're tuned to the only show that matters. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of the appropriate age, to the latest episode of the I'm No Joe podcast, the show where every armchair quarterback can feel like Eddie Bravo. Words are hard sometimes. Today, as like most days, I've got a sidekick over here with me to help break down the shit talking and shenanigans, the fuckery and the fight announcements that have fallen out of the MMA pipeline since we saw you wonderful folks last.
As we talked about last week, Golf T is on vacation for the next 2 weeks. I'm blaming him for Hurricane Milton. He picked this week to go to Disney, and look what happened to Florida. So I'm putting this whole shenanigan on his fucking shoulders. No, I'm just playing. Uh, Obviously, first and foremost, our thoughts are out to everyone affected by Hurricane Milton and those still dealing with Hurricane Helene. Everybody caught in those serious storms path. Our thoughts are with you. There are obviously plenty of resources out there uh, to be found. But if you are going to donate or give some money, please make sure you're giving to a legitimate source. There are also a lot of fucking scammers out there right now. That being said, before we get on the fuckery, first and foremost, how you doing over there, brother?
Doing pretty fucking good. Ready for the fucking weekend. No, the fights aren't going to be the greatest, but we get fights, we get football. Give me some sports.
Yeah, we got plenty to talk about this weekend for damn sure. So that being said, start things off the way we like to around here with a little bit of news and recent events, fight confirmations, fight cancellations, rumors that have been confirmed or officially denied, all the interesting news for the combat sports world we feel is relevant to you fine folks. Um, First and foremost, tying directly into this weekend for a change, unfortunately, it is bad news. Chris Barnett is officially out, but not to be outdone. Junior Tafa stays on the card, and Sean Sharaf will be making his UFC updated debut Saturday evening to keep that fight from falling apart. Those Tafa boys just don't know how to not be awesome, in my opinion. Always stepping up for short notice, no fucks given. Hope everything is good with Chris Barnett, obviously. We got kind of a weird weekend. If you didn't see how everything shook out in Salt Lake City, the ladies' bantamweight belt changed hands for better or worse. Um, and instead of calling out the likely next contender for the belt, Juliana Pena took her moment to call out Amanda Nunez again. Nobody wants to see that fight. I don't think that fight actually excites Amanda in the very least. But shortly after that, we did see Amanda post a video dancing and told Dana White to call her. And then someone asked Dana White about it on the press conference after the Tuesday Night Contender Series. And he said, yeah, he loves it. He will absolutely be getting in touch with her. And if he can get her back, obviously he is itching to do that. They would love nothing more than to get Amanda back and be able to make the Amanda and Kayla fight happen at 145, which would be easier for both of them. But it'll be interesting to see how that story plays out in the next couple of weeks here. Kind of a weird one here. 11 different Brazilian mixed martial artists from varying degrees of several people from UFC talent all the way down to some local combatants, mostly from Chuta Boxer Combate, all ran for local city council seats in Brazil last week, and all of them lost. All 11 of them lost. Not a single one of them made it on the city council. One of them got close with like 11,000 votes, and he would have needed something like 25,000 to actually make it to the seat, or 30,000 to make it to the seat. So one of them actually did get almost halfway there, but most of them got, I think they said like 200 or less votes. So it wasn't meant to be. But we've kind of seen the decline of ex-combat sports athletes getting into politics successfully over the last few years because quite frankly, a few of them spoiled it for the rest of them. If you don't know what I'm talking about, go learn history, please. That being said, we do have some interesting fight matchups to run down real quick this week. Kind of not the way we thought it was going to play out, but an interesting one nonetheless. Here in a couple weeks, November 2nd, over in London for Polaris 30, MVP will be taking on Carlos Condit in a grappling contest. That's kind of weird considering MVP said he wanted to get back into action before the end of the year, and there's still plenty of cards. I'm sure they could have found him a fight, but you know, apparently he's going to go wrestle old man Carlos Condit instead. So, you know, we'll see how that plays out. That being said, we do have some interesting fights here. MSG 309, November 16th. Charlie Campbell stepping in, taking on Mauricio. I don't know if he pronounces it Mauricio, Hoofy or Roofy. Uh, Interesting matchup nonetheless. Two very young and upcoming prospects here with a lot of potential getting added to the MSG card. So that card's potentially going to be one of the bigger ones for the end of the year. Interesting that they find this fight enticing enough, should I say, to stick on the pay-per-view. So we'll see. Going forward to next year, we got a fight last week announced. We got another fight this week announced for that very first card of 2025 already for the UFC. The January 11th card, location TBD, probably going to be at the damn Apex. We're all anticipating it. But this one, very, very interesting. The Action Man, Chris Curtis, getting back in there, taking on Roman Kopilov, who is on a hell of a fucking roll right now. Very interesting. Chris Curtis has kind of been on the sidelines doing more coaching and training and helping other people get ready for fights than he has been doing his own fights lately. So nice to see him get back in there and see where he still stands in this division. One I'm not necessarily excited about, but it is a thing. We've talked about this quite a bit behind the scenes just because of the ridiculous of it. But it is worth mentioning in my opinion because a lot of people are going to tune into it. Chad Ocho Cinco Johnson and James Harrison are both going to compete in an exhibition MMA match in early February before the Super Bowl. I am not sure exactly how much of a circus this is going to turn into, but I am all for athletes from other sports doing exhibition combat sports when they're not competing anymore, when it's not going to impact their main sport that they focus on. Football players, basketball players, hey, you want to put the gloves on, take a kick, look out for a fucking elbow. I am all fucking for it. Just don't do some crazy Jake Paul bullshit. Let him do it like this. Fight another fucking former athlete about the same age, about the same size, about the same experience level. So it's not going to be some fucking, influencer boxing kind of bullshit. Make it as legitimate as you can. And I think it can be a lot of fucking fun. And these guys have been talking shit to each other so much online, and they've already said it's all in good fun. There's nothing actually personal, but the talking of the shit is making it that much more fun for them as well. So
yeah, that's what's got me the most excited for those two. I mean, they're technically friends, right? They played football together for
exactly
almost 2 decades,
for 20 something,
but they were
years
rivals. They were on opposite teams. Ocho played for the Bengals. Fucking
Bengals
James Harris
versus
played for the
Steelers.
Steelers.
Yes.
James Harrison's also at least 2 times, if not 3 times, the size of Chad Ochocinco. Chad Ochocinco's mouth is way bigger than his ability to fight. So I know he's probably going to get knocked out, but it is going to be hilarious to see the build up and everything about that shit.
Yeah, I love the way that they're doing this. I think this is a great avenue for them to fucking pursue. That being said, maybe not the greatest avenue to pursue. We got the latest, I guess now it's kind of a bi-monthly or a monthly roundup here of the latest UFC roster cuts. This week we got a smooth dozen here, and some of the names this week are a little more surprising than I anticipated. Jarno Aarons, Danielle Wolf, not that surprising. Victoria Leonardo is a little bit surprising. Brianna Fortino, kind of saw that one coming. Kay Kuchewski, Dawoon Jung, I'm a little surprised to see. Victor Altamirano, I'm a little surprised to see. Clayton Rodriguez, understandable. Ricky Glenn, understandable. Carl Williams, understandable. Brian Kelleher, we've been waiting for him to get fucking released for a while. And the last one is the biggest one, in my opinion, here. Ovent St. Preux. After getting handled by Ryan Spann, the UFC opted not to re-sign him and let him go off into the sunset. As strange of a circumstance as that is for this to happen, I genuinely hope that he takes this as the sign to call it a day. OSP has had a hell of a fucking career. If you look back on it, his highlights were absolutely high, but he is reaching that point where the lowlights are starting to get pretty low. A dude known for submissions to the extent that they started calling the Von Prue choke the Von Flu choke. I just did it. The Von Prue choke. Literally so synonymous that I just fucking Freudian slipped it right there. And this dude is getting choked out by a fucking meat can like Ryan Spann. Yeah, no, I understand why the UFC opted to not re-sign him, and I genuinely hope he takes this as a chance to go and sign off and become a coach somewhere. Don't keep getting hit in the fucking face. Combat sports is clearly moving on, and it's a struggle for him to keep up. So I'd like to see him go do something else. That being said, speaking of folks who probably went and should have done something else, but they didn't, we got an interesting one here. For those of you not following, and I wasn't following, I only know because of this story. When Mackenzie Dern, excuse me, when Mackenzie Dern divorced her ex-husband, Carlos Santos, they remained joint custody of the child, but Mackenzie Dern almost immediately got remarried to UFC veteran Antonio Tricoli. Well, apparently Antonio Tricoli was cruising down the street the other day, and after Santos had dropped his kid off at school rather, dropped the kid off at school, was on his way home, and Tricoli pulled up in a car, jumped out, and fucking whopped on him and put some fucking hurt down. And some bystanders called the cops. They showed up, and he ended up getting arrested for it. They arrested him for battery. And this is one of those situations where there were enough bystanders that whether they want to press charges or not, the state's going to pursue it. And at this point, how can you really be that fucking stupid? Like, come on, man. Like, you obviously weren't smart enough to stay in the UFC, but now you're not smart enough to stay at a jail either. The fuck, Tricoli? Like, I don't know what Dern has going on, but apparently it's some Rihanna level fucking mind warping shit on some of these fucking dudes. So I don't know. It's kind of fucking crazy. Kind of fucking crazy in my opinion. Last one we've got here just came down the wire just about 45 minutes ago here. Vegas 100 at the Apex, the 100th fight card at the UFC Apex in Las Vegas will be November 9th next month. And they have officially announced the headline for that card, and it might be one of the most Apex headlines you could expect. It's going to be Neil Magny versus Carlos Prates. Not a bad fight by any stretch of the imagination, but in a situation where they have a chance to actually celebrate the Apex and, you know, try and give it a little fucking love and hype it up and all this $20 million fucking rebuild that they're talking about doing to it and shit. And nah, they're just going to let Neil Magny and Carlos Prates headline another fight night card in the Apex for the 100th. So, I mean, there is that. It's not a terrible card so far that they're stacking up. Like I said, that's not a terrible fight, but you would hope there would be a little more glitz and a little more glamour for the 100th Apex card. We'll see. There is still a chance between now and then that they might throw a little sparkle on it, but I'm not gonna hold my damn breath, and I don't know that anybody else should either. Excuse me. But that being said, that is all I have got for the news in this week's crazy little world. You got anything I might have missed over there, brother?
No, I don't have nothing on my end.
Gotcha. Much appreciated. So that being said, that'll bring us to the point most podcasts where you get a bullshit B-roll commercial for some product that doesn't have anything to do with the show and something that no one on the show actually uses, and we don't play like that around here on the ImNoBookie podcast. If you'd like to help out what we get up to around here, patreon.com/ImNoJoe. For as little as $1 a month, you get to help us do what we do around here. We put your name on the end of every broadcast to let everyone know how badass you are and to thank you. We also give you unrestricted access to the behind the scenes, unaired, and literally unairable content from the fuckery that happens here on the ImNoJoe channel. So that being said, give as much or as little as you want, from $1 all the way up. We appreciate it just the same. Don't want to give $1? That's cool. We do this for free every week. That fights are available to talk about just the same here on YouTube. So that being said, if you've been watching fights as long as I've been watching fights, and I know a lot of folks watching this have been watching fights, you learn what you like to watch and when it comes on and how to get to it, and you start to develop patterns, and you get these metaphorical blinders, and you start to lose the forest for the trees, as it were. Luckily for us here on the podcast, we've got ourselves a bona fide young person that's vigilantly out there just fingering the MMA pulse, helping keep us abreast of all the names that are going to be names before they get to be names, in a little segment that we call Slows, Cans, and Contenders.
Appreciate you, brother. So to start the shit out, had the contender series again this week. Fucking one more week of that shit. We'll see how that one goes. We had some fun knockouts this week. I will give it that. There was one guy I'm really excited to see how he does in the UFC. The other two, they had decent finishes in the first round. We'll see what they do. So those two, one of them was a heavyweight. Mario Pinto got a first round knockout. He's a good looking young heavyweight, man. He's got a lot of finishes in his career so far. He looked good on the contender series. We'll see how he does in the UFC. That's how I look at that one. This one's a little like whatever. The Artem Vakitov kid. He got the first round finish. He fucking beat Alex Pereira a couple times in kickboxing. The thing that fucked me up is Dana White saying that he pulled Alex Pereira in the back. Talk to Alex Pereira real quick. And he's like, "What do you think, man?" And Alex is like, "Do it." I fucking love it. Whether that's real or not, I love the like story building here. Like Alex Pereira is fucking becoming the literal star of the UFC. He's just like, "Yes, I did that shit myself. Now bring it on." Yeah, that motherfucker. Come on, boy. You work your way up, and I'm gonna fucking whoop your fucking ass just like I'm whooping everybody else's. I just love it. Having that kind of mentality of like, I give no fucks. Do it, Dana. Bring his ass in. So that's good shit. We'll see what the kid can fucking actually do. I don't necessarily think he'll get up to that point, but the UFC will push him up quick. It'll be similar to what they did with Alex. If he can get some wins, get some finishes, even against low-level guys, he'll get shot up real fast, because they'll want to do that fight. But the kid I was the most excited about, the welterweight, fucking Islam Dulikov, like, this kid was fucking badass. He could use a little polish. Like, he was throwing wild a lot. Like, if he got a little more crisp and technical, like, he's fucking, goddamn. The dude is huge. Like, he's tall as shit, similar to Kevin Holland is in that division, or Wonder Boy. Like, he's got the tall, lanky aspect, but he's built the fuck. Like, he's a Chechen, right? Like, when me and Vinny were watching on Tuesday night, and we see the dude's, like, little promo video they show, like, talking to you about the guy, right? And he's saying he was born in Chechnya. I'm like, oh, yep, here we go. Another Hamzat right here. He fucking goes out and he looks better than him. Well, his grappling was okay, but the striking, dude, that guy's got some fucking power. So I'm excited to see what he does. He got the first round knockout in an epic way, too. Hell of a fucking elbow to just absolutely put the dude that he was fighting to fucking sleep. So excited to see what he does getting into the UFC. We'll see what the last week of it provides for us. If there's any decent contenders, we'll look out for come next year. So this weekend, though, you could, like Golf T would like to say, you can put the majority of the card in the trash. A lot of it's not the greatest, but there's some names I'm specifically excited for. I'll talk about on the contender spot. As for the cans, I gotta throw the Thimba Garimbo Nico Price fight in the trash. I like Garimbo's story, and I love that he's been able to somewhat achieve a dream, get himself a nice living at this point because The Rock was such a decent human being and helped give the man a house and everything. Apparently, they're best friends, right? But he hasn't looked the greatest. He's fought real low level competition and he hasn't looked the greatest. And Nico Price is a veteran in the UFC, and the dude's always like at least tried to put action out there. He's that get or get got kind of guy. He gets knocked the fuck out, or he does get finishes when he gets wins. He's also getting old, so there's that. He won his last fight against Alex Morono. I feel like Price probably wins this one, and then that's just my mentality. If he doesn't get the finish, it's a horrible fight. So, throwing it in the trash. Got to throw Brad Tavares in the trash. That guy has not been good for a long time, pretty much most of his career. And I feel like he's going to get his ass whooped by the Iron Turtle this weekend. I don't like that they made the rematch, but it's cool, I guess. Just give the Iron Turtle a nice moment, get to be a co-main event on a fucking card, just whoop some fucking ass, give him an opportunity to get himself back towards the rankings. I enjoy that part of it. But fuck Tavares, throwing him in the trash. Throw the Njokuani and Gooden fight in the trash as well. I feel like Gooden will probably win this fight. It's based on how Njokuani looked in his welterweight debut there against Reese McKee. Fucking split decision win. But I don't expect this fight to be good. I don't expect us to get a finish out of it. It's sad to say, Njokuani, had that opportunity at the start, and he had some knockout power and shit like that. But the dude's just recently just been getting knocked the fuck out. I don't see Gooden knocking him the fuck out. I just see that fight being garbage. Another one, potential garbage. If Abdullah Razak Al Hassan doesn't knock out Josh Friend, it's another just absolute shit. So I'm just throwing that one in the trash. It's not worthy of shit, even if Al Hassan gets the knockout, in my opinion. The shit I've got on the fence this weekend, Schrodinger's contenders. I've got two. I've got a single fighter in a fight. The fight is the Sabatini and John Pierce fight. It's another fight. This could be so fun. These two featherweights really have a lot of potential, even still. Both these guys are young, honestly, like fighting-wise. But Sabatini can be so hot and cold, man. Like, he can just go out there and try to wrestle fuck John Pierce and not do a lot with that if he does get the takedowns and does get the positions. And that's going to suck because it could really be a fun fight. He's a fucking tough motherfucker. He's kind of like Drew Dober, if he stands and bangs with people, it's hard to get that motherfucker out of there, in all honesty. He has been finished, but I feel like that would be a fun fight if those two stand and go after it. But that's where I got it on the fence. I don't think either one of them are really going to become contenders in their careers, even though they can be fun fighters. And I don't know how to see that fight. So I've got it on the fence. Could be fun. Could be shit. And Dan Argueta, you could just throw him in the can, and Golfy probably would say, yeah, no, fuck it. No, don't do this. But the dude had the potential coming in, so I'll put him on the fence, but I do feel like he's more on the can side because he's just looked like crap his last few fights. And I do feel like, as well, I didn't know a lot about the Cody Haddon kid until like this week. doing some research and then listening to a lot of podcasts and just hearing other guys in the space talking about the kid, and they're real excited for him getting his debut and shit. Um, I feel like Dan Argetta might just get completely washed here, and this kid might have himself a nice, impressive debut. So he's damn sure on the fence, but you could easily throw him in the trash. The contenders. It's sad that we lost Terrence McKinney because I was going to throw him in the contender spot, even though you could throw him in the contender. He could be on the fence, but he's the get or get got kind of kid. He's so fun and exciting. I love his personality for one, but two, the kid always does everything he can to make the fights exciting that he's in and try to finish them. And I love the hell out of him. I did also have the Tafa and Barnett fight on there. Just got to throw Junior Tafa in there now. Like you said earlier, both of those boys will step up to a fight no matter fucking what. The fact that they'll switch for each other, when one of them is fucking sick or gets an injury, it's all so badass. And now that he's getting thrown, some guy making his debut, he's probably going to look pretty damn impressive. Where it might have been back and forth fighting Barnett because that dude's got some talent. He's a motherfucking big boy that can throw them kicks and, shows a little athleticism every now and again. It's sad to see that he couldn't make it to the fight. I was going to throw that fight as a whole in there. Clayton Carpenter, young kid here. I think that fight as a whole could be thrown in there. I just don't know a lot about the kid he's fighting, Lucas Rocha. 24 years old and 17-1. So, I mean, that's just the thing. And then you got Clayton Carpenter, 28 and 7-0. He's looked decent since he's gotten in the UFC. I feel like these two flyweights could go after it, and this could be one of the more fun fights in the prelims. But Clayton, I'm definitely still excited for because we've already seen him in the UFC. I'm not sure what we'll see out of Rocha. I think this is his debut. We'll see how it goes. We got the Dawson Garcia fight. Rafa Garcia has shown that he can be exciting at times, but I'm high on Grant Dawson still. Dude has trained in Kansas City from time to time with his, woman being Elle Dawson, who's from Kansas City and fought in a lot of local promotions, shit of that sort. So we root for Grant. We'll see what he can do, see if he can push his way back closer to the rankings. You got the young girls. I'm kind of excited for this one. Vincent was talking to me earlier today. He's not excited for this fight, and I was disappointed in him. I was like, I know, buddy. I know McKenna could just take her down and just kind of like try to sit on her. But I'm excited for a 25-year-old, 26-year-old girl fight that both of these young ladies have potential to grow and finish fights, become something, right? Like we felt that for the past couple of years. Corey McKinnon, I just feel like hasn't been that active, and she's had a couple of rough moments, but I feel like that fight as a whole could be really fucking exciting. You might throw it in the contender, you throw it on the fence. It could be that, like I said, McKenna just dominates her in the sense of getting the takedowns, and she doesn't do much with the takedowns. We have seen her do that. But, hopefully both of these young ladies have grown. Jung Park, gotta fucking keep an eye out for him, man. He deserves to be in the rankings already, in my opinion. I felt like he was kind of robbed in his fight against Andre Muniz the other year ago. That was his opportunity to crack into the rankings, and the judges kind of screwed him. We saw a lot of that last weekend, too. But the thing I'm looking forward to the most, the obvious main event, other than the Iron Turtle and fucking co-main event, I'm looking forward to him the most. We got the main event. Tatsuro Taira, I feel like he's a real fucking deal, man. Like, this kid is somewhat scary good. And Roy Vol's just like stirring the pot talking shit, saying he's overrated. You don't need to do shit like that against a kid that would probably show you respect since you're a guy that's had the chance at the title, you're up at the top. The kid's not disrespectful. It's kind of like Wonder Boy, right? You don't need to give the decent, respectful ones reasons to fuck you up even more because they're damn good. Um, yeah, Royval might test the kid, but I think Tyra comes out on top one way or another. He's the big contender here, but either one that wins puts themselves in a position to get towards the title. I feel like Royval has more work to do, even if he beats Tyra, even if he somehow finishes Tyra. I think he's not getting the title shot again. As to be honest, Pantoja just whooped his ass. I don't think the UFC would want to see that again. I wouldn't want to see that again necessarily. I don't think he would do much better against Pantoja just because he beats Tyra. But if Tyra fucking wins, then it's a completely different story. If he dominates Brandon Royval, finishes his ass, you got to give him the Pantoja early next year. That's got to be the next fight. Even if the kid is as young as he is, he's undefeated. It's the same thing with Shavkat. There's no questioning this shit. Like I'm hearing the rumors of the UFC doing Kamaru Usman versus Bilal. Why? Why give us these snooze fests that make no sense? Give guys titles that don't deserve it just because Dana loves sucking their you know whats. Like he loves Kamaru Usman, so I'm going to give him another title shot, even though he hasn't won a damn fight in years at this point. Like he got knocked the fuck out, lost the belt, and hasn't won another fight in years. Okay, so it doesn't deserve the title shot. That fight would also be horrible and boring. You got a young kid that's undefeated and finished every fight that deserves the shit. Come on, do the right thing. I feel the same way with Tyra. He gets this fucking big win this weekend. Do the right thing, give him the title shot. Love to hear what you got. I know Golf T would throw it all in the trash other than maybe that. He's probably excited for Tyra.
Yeah, no, that's I was talking about this card with another friend of mine earlier this afternoon. This is a hangover card. Like there's no matter how hard we polish this turd at the end of the day, it's still going to be just a shiny turd. But there are a couple of corn gems in this little turd that can still be plucked out and appreciated here. I love the fact that they gave the Iron Turtle the fucking co-main event. I love it. I love it. I love it. Brad Tavares has been a stepping stool to the top 5 of the division for years now, and the Iron Turtle has been underappreciated by the UFC, in my opinion, his entire fucking run here. So to see them giving him the co-main event spot here and against a guy like Tavares, a chance to crack in and actually start to make a little bit of momentum, I really, really like that. One thing I'm a little surprised by, I have not heard a lot from anybody really about D-Rod versus Alex Morono. Um, Alex Morono has really been putting his nose to the fucking grindstone lately. We talk about Alex Morono a lot because he's one of those guys that's not only an active UFC fighter, but he's also a coach of multiple other active UFC fighters as well. So he literally has to divide his time between helping other people actively compete in the UFC and keeping his own active UFC run going. And he had a struggle with it for a while. We saw him have a lot of bumps in the fucking road and really struggle to get his footing there. And then he started to really piece things together, and you saw his fighters starting to do well. You saw him start to get back in the groove a little bit better, and he seemed to be on a bit of a roll here. D-Rod was on a bit of a roll, had a bit of a stumble, and then that stumble had a bit of a stumble here, and we really haven't seen him since all that went down. We've seen him on social media. He's obviously active. He's obviously in good fucking shape right now. He's ready to go. But the big question is, did all of this time off throw him out of whack? Because he was really fucking active for a hot minute there. And you start to develop that muscle memory. A lot of these young fighters get set on fighting off and fighting every 2 months, every 3 months. And then you give them a 9-month, 13-month fucking layoff for whatever reason. A lot of guys have a lot of trouble getting back into that fucking groove that made them what they were. D-Rod seems to be fucking ready here, but Alex Morono is not going to show up and lay down and give him an easy fucking fight. I'm very curious to see how this one plays out. That fight is in my fucking contender side for damn sure. I'm very, very curious because both of these guys are very, very capable. This isn't a contender. This is a full or this isn't a contender rather. This is a full-on contender fight here for me. Both of these dudes have a whole lot of potential and a whole lot of reason to look really good this weekend. I still don't know where the UFC is going to officially place it because the website tends to change in the last couple of days before the card actually goes off. Last I saw, this was going to be the curtain jerker for the main card, which I think is a great idea. But as of right now, they've got it as the premier prelim fight, which wouldn't be terrible, but I also think could be a good idea as well, depending. Like I said, this is a contender fight. It's just a matter of who's going to come out and get the shine here, because neither one of these dudes can put on boring fights. They're both allergic to boring fights, as we like to say. They break out in punches. So this one's going to be good no matter how it plays out. It's just a matter of who's the one that gets their hand raised at the end of the night. I'm here for the fight either way, though. Before I forget, because I know Tommy's listening. Excuse me. Pat Sabatini. You're welcome. That JSP and Sabatini fight, I agree 100%. That's the definition of a Schrodinger's contender fight, because we have seen both of those dudes be hot as a fucking glowing orange poker and cold as a frozen fucking lake at the same fucking point in their careers. They've both traded off what looked like rocket strapped to their ass turning into concrete fucking shoes. And we know that they're both capable of putting on a great fight. And this is one of those styles make fights situation. They seem like stylistically they should clash just fucking right here. And this should be a great fight. Should be. But we also know that MMA math doesn't mean shit, especially in a should be situation here. So I absolutely agree with this one getting a Schrodinger's contender situation. One that I will say without any hesitation, without even needing a second thought about it, goes in the fucking can for me. CJ Vergara versus Ramazan Temirov. I say it all the time. There's a lot of fights that get called contractual obligation fights. The UFC has to offer these guys at least 3 a year. And if they accept it, those fights have to go somewhere. More often than not, those fights end up on a fight night hangover card like we're talking about right here. But there are even some fights that even on a hangover fight night contractual obligation kind of card like this one really is, this fight still has no fucking place here, in my opinion. Neither one of these dudes have proven they need to be in the UFC, let alone even on a contractual obligation card like this. That thing can go in the trash as a whole, in my opinion. Excuse me. I will say, I agree with a lot of what you said about the main event. Taira versus Royval, I think, is going to be one of the better 125 fights that we're going to see this year, no matter which way that fucking win teeters. I don't think it's going to be as easy as a lot of folks think it's going to be. I like Brandon Royval. I like Tatsuro Taira. I think Taira has a lot of fucking potential. I do think that Royval has done a little bit of overlooking Taira here. I don't know if it's just to build the fight. I don't know if he's fucking around here, but he definitely feels like he's given a little bit of kind of, yeah, whatever kid vibe towards Taira here. Almost big brother in him a little bit and talking about potentially fighting Asakura in Japan and shit. I get all that, and that's all cool, but right now, Tatsuro Taira is hot as it fucking gets, and the UFC has already made it pretty fucking clear that if he gets past Royval, they're going to strap the stage 9 fucking Falcon rocket to his ass and send him to orbit. And I absolutely agree with that, because everyone they have literally ever put in front of Tatsuro has gotten fucking dealt with, whether they get finished or decisioned, whatever. The kid is 16-0 in the current day in the UFC. Who the fuck has more than a 4 or 5-0 run at this point? The kid is 16-0 right now, and they're giving him a main event. Not for nothing. The kid has earned his way up there, in my opinion. We've been waving that fucking Tatsuru flag since they let him on the fucking early fucking glimpse of potentially getting a contract road. And he's lived up to the fucking hype, every bit of it, in my opinion. Royval has had a hard road to walk. There's no fucking denying it. But at the same time, Royval has walked that fucking road. I've been screaming it since it fucking happened. We would not have had the Brandon Moreno and Davison Figueiredo legacy fucking wars that we did had it not been for Royval's shoulder going out in that match. I think had his shoulder not fucked up, the entire landscape of the division could realistically be completely fucking different right now. Unfortunately, coulda, shoulda, wouldas don't work in MMA, and MMA math doesn't add up no matter how you square the circle. Now we get to find out here. Royval is clearly still as hungry as ever, but he's had a couple of trips around the block at this point. They're now throwing him the young, undefeated prospect that is on the fucking way to the top. If he gets past Royval, they're going to book it. They've got no choice to book it. Pants is lining up early 2025, if not end of 2024 on that final fucking December pay-per-view. It could get crazy. I'm here for the fight though. I think Tyra is going to give him a lot of fucking problems. I think Royval ultimately can get it done. I think Tyra is going to give him some fucking problems though, because like I said, the kid is good. The kid is real fucking good. He's not 16-0 for a reason, but I think RawDog's going to be the one to take his O. I think it's going to be a hard fought fucking battle, but I think RawDog takes that O. I think the kid's going to learn from it, and I think he's going to be a better fighter because of it. But I think we're in for a fucking war Saturday night in our fucking main event.
Yeah, I hope so. I like RawDog as well, man. I definitely feel like he could win. I really think, like I said, Tyra's the real fucking deal. They might go through war. I definitely feel like it might be a tough fight for him, but no matter what, I think Tyra will come out on top somehow, some way. I don't have the faith in Royval that I have in Max Holloway here at the end of this month. You know, he can have that big brother instinct. Like I saw the fucking first little face off he had with Tapuria today. Oh god, it was so goddamn funny. Him talking about, oh, you like churros, man? I'm taking a lot of guys' donuts. Oh, dude, Max is funny as shit. It was slick as shit. I can't fucking wait for him to whoop Tapuria's ass. Because I honestly feel like that kid showed weakness. Like he was gonna potentially fight Patty Pimblett. There was the storyline for that, and he somehow,
The
he
fake
got
BMF
rocketed
belt.
up to fucking become champion.
The BMF belt that Ilya went out and bought and started wearing on his shoulder to interviews this week told me everything that I need to know. Max is living rent fucking free, and that is not a good thing to happen before that dude gets to punch you in the face.
Yeah, it's gonna be good shit in a few weeks. Hopefully, it's good shit this weekend too. I appreciate you, brother.
Thank you very much, sir. Much appreciated. So before we move on here, and before I forget, because I do more often than I don't, we are going to run down this upcoming weekend's combat sports menu for all you fine folks, because yes, we do predominantly run the show on the UFC schedule, but I make a point to try and let everybody know that the UFC is far from the only card or the only fights going on this weekend. Now, we got a little bit of a weird one this weekend here, but I want to let everybody know everything that's going on just the same. So, as is the case more often than not, we start things off first thing tomorrow morning, 8:30 a.m. Eastern, 7:30 a.m. Central Standard Time. One Friday Fights 83 because they're on the other side of the world. Now, this one I actually have zero information on. Tapology has nothing on it. The One Championship website doesn't even have a fight card listing for this fight, just that they have a placeholder that says, yes, this event is happening Friday morning. So who fucking knows what fights are happening, how many of them, or what kind, but they're going to have some fights first thing if you need some combat sports with your breakfast. one championship should have you covered. That being said, tomorrow evening, 8 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Central Standard Time, Karate Combat 50 goes down. This card is essentially half or maybe even a little bit more than half ex-UFC fighters here. Omar Morales, Marcus Perez, Brandon Jenkins, Joe Giannetti. There's several UFC names, or former UFC names, I should say, that the casuals will recognize. The hardcores are going to know most of the folks on this card, but the Pit of Doom gets kind of fucking interesting sometimes, and they're out in Salt Lake City, so some of these matchups could get pretty interesting if you need some combat sports to watch tomorrow evening. Wrapping it back over to Saturday, starting bright and early at noon Eastern, 11 a.m. Central Standard Time, from over in Frankfurt, Germany, Octagon 62, another one of those European UFC feeder organizations. That's a mouthful. The guys that do well here generally end up in the UFC before too long. A couple of names on here that the hardcores will recognize. The casuals probably not going to know very much, if anybody, on here, but there are a couple that the casuals will, or excuse me, the hardcores will recognize if you need fights with your lunch. Now, starting a little bit early because they are over in Saudi Arabia this weekend, 1 p.m. Eastern, noon Central Standard Time, Better Be versus Bivol. I do not proclaim in any sense of the imagination to be any kind of a boxing expert, but anyone that I know that knows anything about boxing has been telling me, you better fucking watch this one, because these boys are going to go to fucking war. This is a somebody's has got to go. And I believe 4 belts are on the line in this matchup, if I recall correctly here. So 7 matchups on the card in total. It's going to be running generally right up until the UFC card kicks off. So if you want to watch both, you should be able to get both of them covered. If not, you might have to dual screen at the very end here for the main event, but I don't think you'll be missing anything too terrible over on the UFC side if you have to. That being said, Saturday kicking off 4 p.m. Eastern, 3 p.m. Central Standard Time, UFC Royval versus Taira. It's UFC Vegas 98 for those of us who are keeping track here. There are plenty on this card that we are going to talk about a little bit more here in just a little bit. But that being said, before we get in all the nitty gritty here, I do want to give the only segment that we do on the show that does require its own disclaimer, that grace. Tapology.com does not in any way, shape, or form support, sponsor, or endorse the I'm No Joe podcast yet. That being said, they do give you the option to go onto their site, create a free account, and make fantasy-style MMA picks like we do here on the show. They even let you make groups. So we made one. It's called ImNoBookie, all one word, or group 965, however you need to search it. It is open to the public, and you are more than welcome. You are encouraged. Go over there, make yourself an account, join the group, and let us know who the hell you are so we can hold your picks accountable with our picks in a little segment that for the next 2 weeks is called Tapology with Meter. Thank you. You're welcome. Okay, so before we get into some of the ridiculous odds, because there are some crazy fucking odds here, nonetheless, for a fight night card here, I do want to give a quick little rundown on the I'm No Joe Fall Grand Prix. For those of you who have been keeping up, we are on to our final event of the Fall Grand Prix coming up this week. UFC Vegas 98 is the piece de resistance, and it is closer than ever. The Fall Grand Prix, or the year finale, I don't know what the fuck we're going to call it yet, will be kicking off in just a couple of weeks. So if you want your chance to get on the last competition of the year, get yourself some stripes on your damn Tapology belt, join the group, let us know who the hell you are, ASA fucking P. That being said, coming out of Salt Lake City, things are as close as ever. Like I said just a minute ago, coming out on the top of the mountain, leaving Salt Lake City, over here, this asshole over here, Slowbake with 2270 sitting atop the fucking mountain in first place. I am nipping at his damn heels with 2180, just 90 points behind him. Chugging up the trail just a little further back behind me, we got Donna at 1880, chomping directly on her heels, even though he missed a week, is Golf Tee at 1875, just 5 points behind Donna. So he still has a point, or still has a chance to make a live point in this last round here. Just behind Golf Tee is Vindog the Booty Hog with 1850, just 25 points behind Golf Tee. And then standing perpetually on his good and plenties, our buddy Don. Don, but not forgotten. We love you, buddy. At the bottom of the stack right now with 1740, not out of the picture by any stretch of the imagination. We have seen these competitions move by more than 400 or 500 points in the course of a single week. Somebody can have a bad run, somebody can nail some perfects, and everything could still change in this final week. So good luck to everybody going into the final week. Don't forget to lock your fucking picks in, Golf Tee, even though you're in Atlanta, asshole. That being said, good luck to everybody this weekend. That said, like I mentioned, we do have some interesting odds here. Excuse me. And I don't use MGM because their site doesn't fucking like me. I'm looking at DraftKings. That's where I'm getting my odds. Your odds might be a little different if you're looking at them somewhere else. That being said here, as Golf Tee would tell you, surprise, surprise, coin flips all across the damn board. There's not a whole lot of money to be made on this card in Vegas for individual matchups. This is going to be a very, very heavy parlay card, to say the least. But there are a couple here with a little bit of stretches on the odds. One that I was pleasantly surprised to see, we talked about it, the short notice changeup. Junior Tapa versus Sean Sharaf. Sharaf making his debut on 3 days' notice, obviously coming in as the underdog, plus 260. But they have got Junior Tafa standing confidently as the favorite, a minus 325. I don't often get to see it, but I love when I get to see Vegas putting faith behind the Tafa brothers. It makes me fucking happy. Best of luck to Mr. Sharaf, obviously, but this feels like Tafa getting a softball. You're welcome for helping us fix a couple of fuck ups in the previous scenarios that we had run down. One of the bigger ones here, I'm not going to lie, I was kind of surprised when I saw it the first time, and I just refreshed the site just a second ago just to make sure things hadn't changed since I pulled this all up before the show, and they have not. Themba Garimbo versus Nico Price. They have got Nico Price as the underdog here as a plus 300, with Themba Garimbo as the favorite with a minus 380 on DraftKings. I think that those odds should be switched, and then I think it would make a little bit more sense. I don't see how they're pulling a minus 400 almost favorite for Garimbo over Nico fucking Price here with all the experience that Nico Price has. I get that he's not a young man anymore, but just resume wise, this one makes me scratch the noggin just a little bit, to say the least. Working on down here. Christian mentioned it earlier. Grant Dawson versus Rafa Garcia has potential to be a great fucking crazy matchup here. Well, Vegas seems to agree as well. They have got Rafa Garcia as a plus 330 underdog, with Grant Dawson as a minus 425 favorite. Vegas has got some love for Dawson in this one, and I've got to say, I don't know that the odds might be a little stretched further than I would have put him. I definitely think that Dawson is the favorite coming in here. I don't know what I would have given him that much of a stretch, though. So Vegas definitely has, or at least DraftKings has, some faith in Grant Dawson coming into this matchup, and I'm fucking here for it. That's cool. We get down to the co-main event, kind of a coin flip. like you would expect it to be. Tavares is a plus 164 dog, but the Iron Turtle is a minus 198 favorite here. So I like it. I probably would have put the odds a little further, in my own opinion. I think the Iron Turtle is way better than Vegas is giving him credit for here, and Tavares is a little more spent than they seem to be giving him credit for. But you know, it's the fight game, so anything can still happen. We'll see. But the one that kind of made me go, oh shit. Main event. Brandon Royval, RawDog, coming in as a plus 235 underdog. Taira coming in as a minus 290 favorite here. Vegas is giving Taira the edge, at least on DraftKings. I saw another website. I don't remember which one it was earlier when I was pulling the DraftKings up. Excuse me. When I was pulling the DraftKings page up earlier, they had him as a plus 300 versus a minus 350. I don't know. Vegas seems to have a lot of faith in Taira here as well. And like I said, I'm not discounting the kid, but I still think RawDog has enough to keep this as a live fucking bet here. Keep it as a fucking chance, at least more than Vegas sees it. So I don't know. We'll definitely have to keep tuned in and see how that shakes loose as we get a little closer to the weekend. But that is what I have got over here. That is what we have got for an episode for this week. So first and foremost, if you are catching us this far, thank you for tuning in. Whether you are catching us on youtube.com/ImNoJoe, /at ImNoJoe, because I have to do that now. You're catching the replay, catching us live. Either way, we appreciate you. If you can't or you don't want to catch us live, I understand. I own mirrors. Fret not. The week after we go live over on anchor.fm/ImNoJoe, the audio version of the podcast goes up to your podcast consumption platform of choice: Google, Spotify, Apple, you name it. You can get it everywhere through there. That being said, if you're around, we appreciate you. If you like what we get up to around here, please give us a thumbs up. Make sure you're subscribed and your notifications are turned on so you don't miss an episode of the crazy shit that we get up to around here. We appreciate you. That being said, on the other side of that, if you don't like what we get up to around here, first and foremost, what the fuck are you still doing this deep into a podcast you didn't enjoy? Give it a thumbs down and then go fuck yourself. We're not even going to dispute it. That said, when we wrap things up Thursday night, that is not the end of the fun, because tomorrow morning and pretty much every Friday morning, he's over there. This guy over here and his other half dropped their podcast, Slow Bake and Contemplate, over on Spreaker.com. Links to that podcast as well as their social media pages and their channel over on the ImNoJoe Discord server. Links all down below. Go tell them what's up and tell them how awesome they are.
Appreciate you, brother. The fun normally never stops after that. Once the brother Golf T gets back from the vacation, he'll be back on the show with us. But he'll also be getting back into his own flow of things. Foggy Fairway every Wednesday night around the same time we do this shit, about 9:30 or so. You make sure you tune in to Golf T Vape's YouTube channel here in a couple weeks on Wednesday nights. Pop in, show the brother some love. If you're into vapes like the brothers are, you want to learn some recipes and mixes, he's your guy for sure. Make sure you hit his links, check all of his shit out down in the description. Show the brother some fucking love. And as well, Brother Meter does many motherfucking things. You gotta check all of his fucking links out. Show the brother some love with everything he does as well. He does a hell of a lot more than just this fucking podcast. That's for damn sure.
I do get up to quite a bit. I do. I appreciate that. Linktree/Meter does many things will take you to everything that I get up to in general. There's also Linktree/ImNoJoe for everything the ImNoJoe podcast related nonsense, fuckery, all that good shit. There's all one of those for down there as well. That being said, I am thinking about doing something a little bit more, maybe something once a month, something Patreon only here to help the folks that do kick in around that. I don't know. I'm going to talk to the fellas, kick around a couple of ideas. We've got a couple of big things going for 2025 lined up, both for the podcast and for the Patreon in particular. So a couple things in the works. Stick around. Tell your friends. We appreciate it. Share an episode of the show. Help us grow the damn thing. Be a lot cooler if you did, man. That being said, that is all we've got for this particular episode. So until next time, boys and girls, don't let ignorance stop you. You can root for anything. Unless it's for the Chiefs not to win that fucking three-peat. We're coming, bitches. We're coming.
Everybody was kung fu fighting. Those kids were fast as lightning. In fact, it was a little bit frightening.
How do I say goodbye to what we had? The good times.